All right, let's go back over to the East Coast, or at least what is now the East Coast of North America. And let's talk about the Appalachian Mobile Belt. A few more series of events that took place over there. If we can get going here. Okay, so again, in the latter part of the Paleozoic era, we have the Akkadian orogeny and the Alleghenian orogeny, and somewhat the Ouachitan orogeny. I'll focus more so on the other two. But we already have the Taconic orogeny that started to get things going here. And then as we get in the beginning of the Akkadian until the end of it, now we get, again, you can see a much more extensive mountain range. And then as we get towards the end of the Alleghenian, a vast extensive mountain range. As you can see, this large thing crashing into North America really helped that. That large thing would be Gondwana, and specifically this would what we now know as Africa. So that first part during the Akkadian orogeny, from Canada down to Pennsylvania, sedimentary rocks were folded up and thrust against up and onto the craton. There was also an increase in metamorphic and igneous activity, which indicates the Akkadian orogeny was more intense than the Taconic orogeny. That metamorphic piece becomes important because if we have coal-bearing layers, if we metamorphose those, apply heat and pressure, then that coal, possibly bituminous coal, is metamorphosed to anthracitic coal. So yeah, we get some folds, we get some angular unconformities happening due to this orogeny. So again, we had initially with the Taconic terrain that was accreted onto North America, and then we get the closing of another ocean, and so then we get the Akkadian orogeny as known as the Avalon terrain gets thrust up onto the North American craton as well. And then fast forward in time, and then we get to the Alleghenian orogeny. The Appalachian and Ouachita mobile belts kind of down in Texas, they're somewhat connected, and during this time is when the Ouachita and the Ouachitan orogeny and the Alleghenian orogeny work together. And you'll see a map of it here in just a second. But anyway, the Appalachian and Ouachita mobile belts of North America really come into prominence and mark the zone where Laurasia, which is now Laurentia and parts of Europe and Asia, collide with Gondwana, and that's really the beginning of the supercontinent Pangaea. And more on that here in a little bit. So again, additional folding and faulting occurring, metamorphism, igneous rocks, so on and so forth. Some of the best folds, anticlines and synclines that we can see in the Appalachian Mountains come out of the Alleghenian orogeny. So this is a great example of a syncline fold. You can see the layers of the sedimentary rock, how they've kind of been folded up here. So this is a syncline. The rest of this material has been weathered and eroded away, but this was, you can see these layers, almost like a smile pointing downward would be a syncline. You can see this is a road cut where they cut through a mountain to create a highway. In fact, this is in Maryland. There's a little spot you can like pull off the highway here and take pictures of this. Geology. So in any case, as we're ending the Alleghenian now, we're at the end of at least what we'll talk about for the Absaroka. We're at the end of that's the last mountain building event in Appalachia. So the Appalachian Mountains are now done, other than any weathering and eroding that can occur. So this is the height and extent of what we see in Appalachia. All right, so I think that's it. So now let's talk about a couple additional fun things in the Paleozoic. So when we come back, we'll talk about the formation, very briefly, of Pangea. This kind of has more implications when we're talking about life and evolution, the diversification of life, how life can move around now that life is on land at this point, and if all the continents are connected. So anyway, we'll come back to Pangea a little bit more next unit when we're talking about the life of the Paleozoic. So in any case, we'll see you back here, and we'll talk a little bit about the formation of Pangea. See you in a minute.